In rewatching many of my vlogs from the series, I've realized that I've mentioned Navy SEALs quite a bit. Some uninitiated might think that I have some sort of obsession with military-industrial complex. I just respect their level of discipline, and that's it. I rank them the same as I would elite athletes, extreme sport athletes, and other such people. Joe Rogan just happens to have many of these Navy SEALs on his podcasts, so they're top of mind. But for me, really, I'm just taking the learning lessons that I find applicable to my life, and I am very good at parsing people into their useful components. I use what's useful, and I discard what's not. The discipline concept has been important this week because it's been a difficult dance week for me. I've practiced, but my body's felt tired, and an important training tip that I've used for at least the past decade has been to listen to your body and avoid overtraining. When you're passionate and excited about something, you might have a tendency to throw your entire focus and energy into it. With that can come the drawback that you might throw too much, and there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. So, with breakdancing being my pandemic obsession, you can say that I have dedicated a lot more time to this physical activity than I would be normally doing, at least when I'm off the road in between trips. In many ways, then, you'd argue that my balance of being on the road and being that active on the road and coming home and resting works because I have a mix of being very active and then being in recovery, almost like hibernating. This year I've messed with the formula a little bit. So breakdancing is a ramp up in many of my skills. Of course, I come to the table with a number of crossover skills. So I'm a martial artist, I am an advanced yoga practitioner, I'm a musician, I've performed calisthenics for the past couple of years. So all of these skills help me in the skill of breakdancing, but still, additional cardio, the number of hours I've been dancing per day, it's been a lot compared to what I used to do. So there have been some weeks that I have felt run down. This week is particularly one of them because it's fallen on the Wednesday. I have a new breakdancing choreography, but to be completely honest, I've been very slow at performing it. I'll try to perform it today anyways because I have it together, but I have fewer expectations of what the outcome's going to be, and that's okay. One of the things that matters most is when you're trying to improve, you also are generous to yourself. I've mentioned Faraz Zahabi before, GSP's trainer, but he did completely change my mentality on training. He's claimed that overtraining can be just as harmful as undertraining. So finding that balance is important. Finding that balance is also going to be trial and error. So some days it's going to be physical limitations, actual physical limitations. Some days it's going to be mental limitations. For me, mostly they've been physical limitations. Physically, I've kept it right at about as much as I think I should be able to do safely without being injured. I've done a good, better than good job at doing that for the last 10 years, because by my estimations, ever since my major back injury more than a decade ago, I've only been injured once, and even then it was a slight hamstring tweak that recovered on its own after a couple of weeks, and I continued to at least be active throughout that, but alleviated pressure on that specific muscle. So, in that case, do I have anything else to say? I feel like I'm delaying the dancing as much as possible. I've done a couple of trial runs of this particular dance, and I'm slow, offbeat, so maybe this will be a snapshot in between where I do it as it is now, and then I film it again next week. Or maybe I just do whatever comes naturally, whatever that might be. Circling back to the Navy SEAL idea. Discipline has been the thing that I struggled the most with. I've realized that before discipline can happen, you actually have to enjoy the thing that you're doing. That's the difficult part. That's actually the most difficult part. Finding things that drive you enough, that you're passionate enough about, that you want to dance for the hours. I've been joking that if everybody in the pandemic could have just found an enriching hobby like this, I think there'd be a lot less complaining and a lot more productive action. But I also realize that not everybody can find a breakdancing. But I would say they can at least find something entertaining in this age of internet. I think that this pandemic has also revealed a number of systemic problems with our society and the way we live. Maybe I'll leave those discussions for later because I've already exhausted myself talking about discipline. That's enough for a week. I think I'm gonna dance now. I'm feeling it now. Yeah, but it's gonna be slow and steady and probably riddled with mistakes. But that's okay, only I'll know them because only I know the choreography. So I'm gonna play the music once through just so I can hear it, and then dance, and then who knows. I know what I'll address. I'll address some topics that people have asked me privately and publicly. Why breakdancing? Why at my age? I've never thought that any situation except being dead is a limiting factor. So yes, I'm in my late 30s. People will know that because I'm open about my age. But I actually feel more mentally and physically fit than I've ever felt in my life. Part of that is me actually dedicating the time to doing these things. I am still at the heart of me quite a lazy person. I sometimes am unrealistic in my expectations, and this dancing boot camp that I've put myself through has been a good reminder that if you want to improve in anything, at the very least you have to invest the time. Now, if you ain't even motivated enough to invest time, then I have no clue what to say. I've actually had a number of people approach me and exclaim that they have nothing that they're interested in. And that would wind back to the sojourn that people have never gone through or might never go through. So this is all one large, long, lifelong process that I never found a shortcut for. My sojourn has and continues to be adventure. But aside from that, the only thing that I can recommend is having an open, curious mind. That's also something that many, many, many people lack. I have no idea what holds them back. They're too worried about what others will think. They're easily embarrassed. I have no clue. But what prevents one from having an open, curious mind when you literally have nothing better to do in a pandemic? The people that have helped me in many different knowledge topics have been members of the intellectual dark web. Search that up, intellectual dark web, because there are so many members of it. I think the number one criteria of those members is that they demonstrate a certain level of intellectual honesty. All of them have jeopardized good, high-paying careers to honor what they consider their scientific truths, and I think that those people have credibility. Now, does it mean that everything they say is right? No. But I know that they're coming at their topics with good faith, and that's all that you can reasonably expect from them, alongside their expertise. The song sounds vibey and chill, but at least the choreography I decided to do to it is been fucking kicking my ass, so we'll see. The song is only 2 minutes. be real with you, that's probably one of the better times I've done it, but that freeze section fell apart, and my calisthenics are just shot today, so it is what it is. But at the very least, all the constituent parts are there. This week, I've added a number of freezes, but I've reverted to yoga style. Yoga style is what I'm comfortable with. The body mechanics are slightly different from b-boying, breaking, b-girling, but I'm used to them, and I know how to operate with them. I tried changing to b-boy mechanics last week, and when I rewatched, everything was just a struggle, and it was just the simple placement of hands. Yoga placement's this way, b-boy placement was that way, and it just completely messed me up, even though I had a third technical appendage to prop myself up, being my head. I actually can do the side crow much easier balancing on one arm than I can with both arms and my head. That's how much the mechanics changed for me. So in this long learning journey of mine, I've discovered many things about myself, and sometimes you have to practice many, many different ways for you to realize that actually the way you're comfortable doing it is the best way. Now, maybe I'll find that entering the freezes using breaking style is advantageous when I increase the speed, but I'll be very honest, and you can probably observe that my speed is just slow right now. I've integrated top rocks, footwork, and freezes into one routine, and the footwork and the freezes have just slowed everything down. It is what it is. But the good thing is that there's continual improvement week to week, so that's all I'm really looking for. Maybe I'm disappointed in my exhaustion this week, but there are good reasons behind it, and that's me being a woman. One thing that I've realized about being a woman is that you just lose so much time to your body prepping for a baby. For me, I've already known since I was 12 that I don't want children, but there's no way to tell my body to fuck off. I've already hyper-focused my energy and time on things that I truly enjoy, so I have no desire to have children, romantic relationships, sexual interactions, except in very specific kink contexts. But every fucking month, my body wastes my time, my energy, my actual resources to prepping for something that's never going to happen. I wish if science were to progress, they could find a way to just take that function away from me so that I don't have to be investing this subconscious energy and conscious energy. The thing is that I have no choice. Like, it has to go through this process every fucking month. And it's pre, during, and post. So you really only have, at most, if you're lucky, 3 good weeks. And then the rest is just spent prepping for something that for me will never happen. So, yes, scientists out there, that's something for you to consider. I do know that there are some birth control methods that athletes use to control their periods, because imagine if you were an elite athlete and your period suddenly came during the Olympics, there are probably ways to control it, but all of those are, from what I understand, hormonal and wrought with side effects. But I'm almost at the point where I might consider those as being useful and beneficial for someone like me. For other people, maybe because they want to retain their option to have children. they think of things differently. But for me, everyone knows my opinion about having children. Fucking stupid. Alright. Yeah, this is quite a meandering vlog here, because I'm in a very interesting headspace. I've been researching about women in otherwise male-dominated domains. Being an electrical engineer, I understand what that's like. In my graduating class, the ratio was 10 to 1. Professors often mistook me for one of the guy's girlfriends, never knowing that I was actually a student, for classes where the professors never established a personal relationship knowing me. So in this breaking journey of mine, I've had to come to the harsh realization that what I see on Red Bull World Championships is never going to be in my reach, and probably was never realistically in my reach, even if I were to have started when I was a child. My body type just is different biologically than a man. I've worked very hard to be able to do what probably most males can do relatively easily if they invest a modicum of effort. I can do a full military style push-up now. Maybe I can demo that. So it's chest on ground, full extension up. But I can only do a couple reps of those at most if I'm lucky. And that's something I've been training for a couple of years. I would say for the average male, if you gave them the challenge to learn how to do that, they could probably do it in a much shorter time, and they would do many more reps. So, when we're assessing our achievements, we have to really consider the constraints that we're in. For me, the calisthenics, I'm already happy with my progress. Yes, I messed up the freeze just now, but maybe now that I've had time to myself to recover, I'll try again. Usually it's actually very easy for me, those freezes. Easy in a sense that I could actually do one within the 30 seconds that I allotted myself in my routine. But because this week has been a struggling week, then obviously everything is falling apart. There we go. That has not been my shining moment, but it's good to show these fuck-ups, because I would never want people to think that it's been easy to do all this. That's actually the first time I've collapsed on a crow pose in years, but that was part of my progression at one point, so it's actually very true to character to show. In any case, I think recording this week has still been a good idea, because I have snapshots in what it's like to improve such a physically demanding skill later in life. I think it's obviously totally possible, and it's been a very fun thing to do, but there are going to be days where you are struggling with the passion and the discipline because you feel like, where are the results? Or you're thinking, where are the results? And the results are there. You just might have to be patient with yourself. Are you always going to be able to show the results on demand on Wednesday just because this is called What the Fuck Wednesdays? No. That's something that I knew from yoga already too, that day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, your body changes, and the best thing you can do to improve yourself is actually ride the wave of what's happening with your body. There are going to be days where you feel much better, and there are going to be days where you feel much worse. And today's one of those worser days. But even then, it's been still a good day. On days like this where my body is less inclined to work with me, I focus on other things like the mental game. So I've been listening to a lot of back and forth on whether women should be in elite ops, and that was relevant because I had been observing my own progress in breakdancing and just coming to the conclusion that there are some things that I see men do that I will not be able to replicate. And part of it is because I'm not an elite performer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm an amateur with better than average flexibility. I would say probably close to exceptional flexibility, but my strength and cardio have been things that I've had to work on consistently for years and years through dedication and hard work. Those are at the level that they can support my solo backpacking, they can support my other adventures like diving, but they might be too rough or weak to support high level breakdancing or high level jiu-jitsu. Who knows? Again. Yeah. This is a rough week. But I still feel like it's been a helpful week in my journey, and I hope next week I'm back with a finished product of that, or maybe I'll move on to something else. We'll see how this goes. At the very least, I always pat myself on the back for being outside and exercising, because that's really the most important thing to keeping mentally sane during these weird, wonderful times. Yeah, I think that's about it, about a wrap. We're nearing our 30-minute mark, so that'll be that. Maybe one of these days I'll do a proper thank you for 75k views. Last week was just a cursory thank you, and this week's obviously nothing.